Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by TheLines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we are looking to stay sizzling hot here, kid, after a really nice Friday in the NBA. We've got a bunch of games on Monday to go through with you guys in our player props episode here. So make sure to subscribe to that page because we also have best bets up on a separate episode, bringing both of these to you each and every weekday moving forward throughout the rest of this season. Nate, let's go ahead and jump right into your first NBA player prop.
Jared McCain. I've been trying to take him for a while. We're at 20.5 points right now. It's actually up early in the day because Embiid is apparently going to be eternally questionable here. But books are saying, we're going to put it up regardless because, we assume he's going to be a big factor on offense either way with Tyrese Maxey out. And that's exactly how I feel. Like, I think this is still too low, whether Embiid goes or not. We've seen in the last four, McCain has gone for 28 a game, 32% usage, ninth most points in the league off drives. That's tied with Anthony Edwards. So very involved, also very hot from three. And the threes have been there more when Embiid's in there. He's only down to 26 a game in the two with Embiid in that span, 30% usage, 9 for 20 from three. We talk all the time about Maxey actually having more opportunities to get hot from the perimeter when Embiid's out there, just kind of sucking that defense in, his gravity. The Sixers are a better team with Embiid off the floor, which we've talked about. I know you're on the no Heat diet, so you didn't actually go with Heat -3, but I think if Embiid is playing tonight, you want to be on the Heat. If Embiid is out, I want to take the Sixers at like +4.5 because he's actually moving the line in the other direction, and the Sixers will be far more athletic and play far quicker against the Heat defense that ain't what it used to be. In those two games, McCain is +16, Embiid is -16. Like, what else do you need to say? The proof is in the pudding that they're better with Embiid off the floor. And those were tougher matchups, I think. At least a tougher matchup against Orlando his last time out. This Heat defense has been about average all year. You never really know what you're going to get from them. Jimmy Butler might be back. It's not like he's going to be on McCain individually, though. He should be on PG. The Heat have allowed a lot of penetration the last couple games to the Pacers, to the Pistons. They're now bottom 10, fast break points allowed and threes allowed. Like I said, McCain is pulling up without fear from three. This is the first back-to-back for the Heat as well. And last year, they allowed 3 more assists, 3 more three-point attempts in that spot last year. So, regardless of the matchup, I'd probably be taking McCain to go 20-plus here. Just because, like, the Sixers, their veterans aren't doing anything. They're just looking for any kind of spark, and this rookie has been able to provide it.
Yeah, I kind of agree though totally with the way the Miami deal. But I agree. I'm not, I'm not betting on them, but I would be in the same train of thought as what you're saying here, which is like let him be out, let this thing balloon to like 7.5, and then go ahead and smack the Sixers there because I just don't trust this Heat team at all. In fact, this Heat team without Jimmy Butler also might be a little bit better because they're finally just like, well, we have an identity. We don't have a giant sort of elephant in the room that's just standing in the corner being like, hey, bud, you're our best player. Are you going to do anything? Or no? Okay, we got it. No worries. We got it. And that's Jimmy this season. So, all right, let's go to D Fox because he's playing the the Hawks. Whatever. Could be playing the Bulls, could be playing the Hawks. This is the same defense. They both suck. But the Bulls actually give up more assists, most in the league. So I'm going with D Fox assist. You mentioned it with a nice SGP up in the Best Bets episode that we have as well. I'm just going right back to it because you can still get -104 for him to get 8 dimes on Caesar. And I think it's worth a little sprinkle on the 10 plus assists as well. That's +260 on FanDuel. It's actually a little bit better for the alt line on FanDuel, despite the core odds being better on Caesar. But shop your lines, people. Look, we're going up against a team here that gives up the most dimes in the league. You've got this without Domas and without DDR, still without Devin Carter, backup point guard from the draft, and also now still without Malik Monk. Who is the ball handler here? Keon Ellis ain't a ball handler. Keon Ellis ain't a distributor. That's going to be the guard playing alongside him. Huerter, same deal. We know he's athletic and a good 3-point shooter. not someone to assist. I think this is even potentially a good like negative correlated parlay with D Fox, which I might be looking at a little bit more, which is like for him to go under 33 points where his prop is at and still just get his dimes, gets you about plus 250, plus 260 just for that. I also like that idea because 33 is a lot. It's scary against a Bulls team that just gives up whatever you want to get. But there's just so many, there's so many dudes that can't do what he does now playing for this Kings team that I just love this opportunity for him. If you look at him without Domas, I mean, really even just in the last roughly like 5 games of the season, he's come along. It's crazy the disparity between his potential assists in the last 5, where he's had no Domas for 2 of those. He's had no Malik Monk for any of them, and he's had no DDR for 1 of them, right? But even in the last 5, when he had all his guys, we're looking at those potential assists going to 18, 13, 13, 16, as opposed to never getting above 10 before that, just getting 10, 6, 6, 4, 9. Those are the beginning potential assists versus the last 5, where it's just like, oh, okay, I'm going to continue to be a facilitator. We knew this Kings offense was going to take a second to figure out how to gel together and to mesh. Certain guys like Keegan Murray had to figure out where they actually stood now, but I think his points are pretty good in this. I think he'll be getting a bunch of threes off of De'Aaron Fox's passes in this game. So love him on the 7.5, and definitely think the latter play and finding ways to juice this up is a good play.
Yeah, 10 assists or double-double, right? Either way,
yeah,
is nice to get that juice.
But good point, though, just because the double-double can be misleading. It's like minus 190 or plus 190 for the double-double. The 10-plus assists, you kind of expect him to get that over the boards, and you get like $1 better per dollar that you spend. So I think it's worth the plus 300 for the 10-plus assists.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so found good EV here with both of those because, yeah, I mean, over 7.5 assists everywhere else is like minus 135 is why I had to put it in a parlay in best bets because like I don't like taking that juice and it's not really available at an alt to get 9 assists many places yet. Like 8 is where they usually sit it at. So if you can get that number at Caesars, yeah, gobble that up early in the day before it goes away. Let's go to your boy Cat Karl Anthony Towns, over 36.5 points and rebounds against the Washington Wizards. Why not? I mean, it's a back-to-back, but on his only other back-to-back this year, Cat went for 46 and 10 against a poor Chicago Bulls defense. We know the Wizards defense is quite porous. They just don't even really give up much of an effort down low, giving up the most points and third most rebounds to centers, still playing at a top 5 pace, and only a 66% defensive rebounding rate over their last 10 games. So that is second worst in the league. Cat should be able to gobble up on the offensive glass. If he does sit, because, I mean, they're giving him some rest at times now, because he's carried such a huge workload already, I would just attack Josh Hart props, right? I mean, the two guys are up there with 16-plus rebound chances per game, dwarfing everybody else on the Knicks. Because, yeah, like you always point out, OG, not a good rebounder. Obviously, Brunson ain't mixing it up in there. Mikal Bridges still hasn't joined the season at this point on either end. So, I mean, Josh Hart, either way, probably going to have a nice game here on a back-to-back. I don't care how many minutes he played yesterday. He is the Iron Man of the NBA. But with Cat, yeah, he sat out Friday, then comes back Sunday, continues to put up numbers whenever he's out there for this Knicks team because they don't have anything at center behind him. 31.5 points, 12.3 rebounds, 32% usage in his last 6. And career on back-to-backs, he actually has his highest offensive rating. It's slightly up or roughly the same averages of 23 and 11 as he does on normal rest. But yeah, those numbers are way up with the Knicks. Much different role now. And I think he just will eat against this Wizards team. He's kind of a guy who, when he sees an easy opponent like the Charlotte Hornets or the Wizards, he goes out there and guns for his numbers. And the Knicks need him to do that because the rest of their offense isn't really doing much right now.
I'm going to mention this. I got receipts on all these texts I sent where I asked people. I think I sent it to you. I don't think you ridiculed me quite as hard as others. But I said, there's a world where Karl Anthony Towns leads the NBA in rebounds when this season is over for plus 150. And I was laughed out of every group chat that I put that in. And he is third in the league right now on a close margin with the rebounds. So
you just want 1,500?
Yeah. Plus 1. Oh, did I say? Yeah, sorry. Plus 100 and what is that? 15,000. It's 150 to 1.
I got you.
It was 150 to 1. I don't know why that was so difficult for me to say. But I'm just throwing that out. He's an incredible rebounder. There's nobody around him. Maybe when Mitch Robb gets back, this goes down. The points, yes. I mean, he could get this on the points, to be honest. He's been on a freaking tear. And somebody got in his ear and was like, yo, bro, like, go. There's no more spacing issues. Go to the bucket. And he's done incredibly well. Even adding the assist doesn't scare me. If you wanted to do that, there's been some really nice assist games for him as well. And yeah, this just very, very happily impressed with him. Minnesota is the team that's going, wait a second, what happened after this trade? Dante doesn't want to be here. Sometimes Ant doesn't seem like he wants to be here. I don't know what's going on over there. I'm very happy that the Knicks are not dealing with that, though. Let's look at a threes parlay to end this thing, because I was looking at FVV, Fred VanVleet. I got him at 2+ threes, and I got Franz Wagner at 2+ threes as well. And you put them together, it's plus 122. And this just kind of came about naturally because I was looking at Fred VanVleet going like, well, someone's going to hit threes against this Milwaukee team. That's for damn sure. I think it's going to be Fred a little bit more than I think it's going to be Jalen Green because of what I was mentioning earlier, which is like Jalen Green is scoring more points per game off the pick and roll ball handler play than Fred VanVleet is, who's a little bit more of a spot up, even though he's technically the point guard, which is why I hate giving people positions in the first place. But regardless, like this team is giving up a ton of threes to the spot up shooter, and I think that'll continue to be Fred VanVleet for this team as they force the ball out of other players' hands. And Fred gets the Dame, like you won, baby. You won the Dame defense package. It comes included with all the threes you want and every other possession you can get down into the middle of the lane if you'd like to, and throw a floater up or find a guy for a nice dunk in a dunker spot. So I love Fred to do his thing. I kind of like him on the assist tonight too. But the threes on the spot up for him, I think he's just going to continue to be the lost man. He hit 3 and 4 of them last year. They've got his core line at 2.5, plus 125. So not the highest implied probability there that he's going to hit 3, but I'm just going to take him for 2 and pair it with Franz, who I think this is going to be one of the last games without Paolo that we also get him at a 1.5 3-point prop. And minus 170 is the best number you could find for the three, for him to just make 2, because he's been taking 9 to 10 of them in the last 4 games. And in the first 3 games without Paolo, you can see his numbers not nearly as good as they've been over the last 5, where he's averaging nearly 30 points per game. But that's because his threes also went up. They were like, look, man, we know you're not the most efficient 3-point shooter. It's going to be a get right time for you here while we have no Paolo. And there's very few scorers and options on our team. So go ahead and do you, right? So in the last 6, 9 threes per game. Phoenix is allowing the 7th most threes per game. I think we're going to be watching Franz and Book go back and forth, just bludgeoning each other, not necessarily guarding each other, but bludgeoning the other team's defense as best they can to just go back and forth. So look, this is simple. Franz is going to take 9 threes again, 8 to 9 threes. I like him to make 2 of them. If I needed him to make 3 or I needed him to make 2 on what I perceive to be 6 attempts, all right, I'm out. But you give me 8 to 9 attempts, I'm going to take him to make 25% of them or 20% of them or whatever it's going to be tonight. So I like both these guys together to get plus money for them to hit some trays.
Yeah, I was going to suggest Booker getting him involved in some way. If you want a same game parlay, maybe you get a token for that or whatever on your book of choice to get that with Franz. Weird though that he doesn't take a 3 against OKC and then goes 6 for 13 against Minnesota. Maybe that's a point of emphasis, being like, hey, we need you to fire. He did drop 44 his last time out against Orlando last year, but only took a couple threes in that one. So I wouldn't necessarily go with the threes with Book, but I think he's pretty good for 25 points here with the Suns down their other 2 stars.
Right, yeah. Orlando perimeter defense a little bit better, but I do think you'll be seeing Book get to the bucket a little bit more, get into the lane a little bit more. Orlando's still a really good team, man. Don't look now. I believe they are 5th or 4th in the East. As high as 4th for sure. So they're still hanging around, and don't look now, but those Detroit Pistons are also in the top 6, 7 and 8, blistering 7 and 8 in the Eastern Conference. But fun time so far in the first 15 games of the season. And that's all the time we have for you in the Play a Props episode. Also got best bets up in the other one. So make sure to subscribe to that YouTube page. Continue to follow along. Appreciate the likes if you got them. Until we see you next, happy betting.